Hey, so welcome. Thanks for coming this morning. So we're going to be looking at a case on opportunities. What are they, and how do you tell the difference when you're looking to start a business between an idea and a real opportunity? And that's sort of what this case gets to the heart at. We weren't sure if you guys were going to give it had read it before. So what we're going to do at the start is just take 5 minutes to flip through it, kind of underline the key facts and details of the case, and then we'll kind of walk through everything together. Sound good? So just take the first 5, we're starting early anyway, and just run through it, kind of underline everything important. What's this case about? What do we know? What don't we know? What would be good to know? And then we'll start walking through it.
Are you going to tell them about you first?
And while you guys are doing that, we thought we'd tell you a little bit about ourselves too, and how opportunities come up in different ways. This case is a very, maybe not a very straightforward opportunity, but it's pretty clear, right? There's a certain technology that's available here, lots of potential applications. So it's one of those cases where it's, the evaluation is sometimes more straightforward than it can be in real life. Each of us have started multiple businesses. The first one that I started was, almost the opposite in terms of how the opportunity came up. So my partner and I, we built food trucks for a couple of years, which is kind of a weird business. And the way it started was, the way the opportunity came about. He had a body shop. He liked to fix cars. It wasn't going great, but it made a living. My dad was a carpenter, so I spent a lot of time working on houses growing up. And we were hanging out one day, and he had to go to a dealer auction to look at buying a car. And when we got there, they had a whole stock of old FedEx trucks for sale, and they were selling them for like $1,000 a piece, like practically nothing. So they all had they'd all been in minor accidents, and so FedEx didn't want to fix them. They just, for whatever reason, thought it was easier to replace the trucks. So we're sitting there looking at this huge pile of old FedEx trucks that are only 2 or 3 years old. And I said, hey, if you can fix the trucks, I can do gas, plumbing, and electric, and we can just start selling food trucks. And it was just like that. So it popped up out of nowhere, neither of us looking for it. And we bought 2 that day for a grand total of $2,500, and put another couple grand into them, fixing them up, and started selling food trucks on the internet, which is really good. But it's just an example of sometimes opportunities come up when you're not really looking for them, and act on them or not. It's right there.
I'm Candace Mahaffey-Culgen. I teach organizational behavior in Fort Hays State University in the Robbins College of Business and Entrepreneurship. I teach organizational behavior and ethics at the undergraduate level and at the MBA level. Many times people say, well, Candace, why are you teaching? Like Griffin just said to you, I've had several businesses too. I still have a business right now. But most of them, I enjoyed them. But years and years ago, I was just a high school teacher. And I knew that I didn't want to have to get married in order to survive on a high school teacher's salary. And in order to do that, I knew I'd have to leave teaching and make my mark in the world or do something great or that made money. And the best way to do that, of course, is to be self-employed. So back in the dark ages, this is natural. So back in the dark ages, of course, then starting a business for a woman was even more unusual than it is today. Today, women are the fastest growing in the entrepreneurial environment today. And so guess what? While it's still open for me and easy for me today to do it, it wasn't back then. But my opportunities did not begin when I realized I couldn't make money teaching in high school. I am from an orphanage in Germany. I was adopted by 2 people who took a chance on a child that was older. In the German orphanages, they put the kids out there with the idea that the kids have to bond with the potential parents and the parents have to bond with the potential orphans. Well, can you imagine what it's like to be an orphan? You know that, have y'all watched Annie? Well, it was like that, except I didn't get that wealthy kind of parent or anything. But anyway, I got parents who took a chance on an older child, which is very, very unusual. Of course, I didn't speak English. I was German. And so they took a chance. And my father said, "That is the ugliest boy I have ever seen. He will make for a fine son." It sticks with me like glue because I wasn't. But you know, when you're older, it's not like they're going to go change a diaper and find out, you know. So anyway, the opportunity that was given to me then, I was old enough to know that my future would not be very bright, probably. And so for me personally, that was the first real big opportunity I was ever given. And it meant the world to me to seize the moment. And that's what this case is about. Is this an opportunity or is it just a really good idea? And that's what we're going to be looking at today. So, have you had a chance to go over all of this? It's not that long, right? It's not that difficult. Anybody kind of like the idea of it? Well, let's get the facts first. Now, I think Griffin's going to write some stuff up on the board that you say because my handwriting is atrocious. He can't even look at my notes and make sense out of it, even though we just said it, so it's pretty pathetic. So
what was this case about? What do you guys pick up?
Solving the problem of clothes that don't fit.
Okay.
And what was the other one? What is it that is so costly to an employer besides actually not being turnover is the most expensive, as we all know. But what's another thing that for the retailers that was huge? Security, absolutely. What else?
All these people making returns on clothes.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Returns.
So
What
that's
else?
and that's a problem faced by who? So that's the problem that the retailers experience, right?
Yeah.
And now what's the other side of that? Is there a problem that this addresses for buyers?
Yeah, because they don't want to spend their time to go back there. But yeah, it's a big problem for the retailers.
Okay. So mostly
Didn't
retailers.
want to be late for class.
And customers, it's mostly time,
Yeah, convenience.
convenience. Okay. Now, how does this technology work? What does it do? First of all, has anybody in here ever seen one of these things in a mall? Anyone? I can remember seeing them. It's been 10 years, but I haven't been in a mall since. So I have seen them before, but I haven't seen them in a long, long time. So how does the technology itself actually work?
How many of you have flown recently? You know how when you go to the airport, maybe you went into that little bubble, that glass bubble thing, and maybe they zapped you and maybe they didn't, right? But you've seen other people go through it. Now, I haven't actually seen one, but that's what I envisioned. So use that as your foundation. Do you all know about the glass bubble thing?
Yeah.
When you walk into that, now they're looking for things like weapons and liquids that are explosive and whatnot, right? And fragments of it. But this machine is something that you walk in. Now, guys, you may not care about this nearly as much as someone like me might, but women typically have to try on 1,001 to find the item they love. Now, some women love to shop, but I know this, as I get older, that's the last thing I want to do is go in and try on everything because guess what? It's always going to be 2 sizes too small. And that's embarrassing. And then what does the sales clerk come up to you and say? Can I help you? Oh, well, maybe you should be in another department. Maybe you should try over here. Well, this is just too, you need something much bigger. What is it we really want? We want to feel special even if we don't like a particular part of our body, right? Now, guys, what do you guys say? Oh, honey, why don't you pick it up? Well, I don't care. well, I just put on a ball cap, I'm good to go. Right? It's different for all of us because we're all unique. But I can promise you that everyone, including you guys, there's a part of your body you're not crazy about. This machine is one of those things that you go in and stand, it calculates everything. Not only that, but did y'all notice something else that it did? It calculated all of your measurements and then provided something else. What did it provide? The data. You got the results, right? Yeah.
So you didn't just get the measurements.
Yeah.
You
You
know
didn't, right, they didn't just measure like tape measures like previous competitors had tried to do. They gave you a printout that had, all of your measurements. So guess what you could do then? You could go to any store, male or female, and do what? Know exactly what you wanted. At least a closer proximity, right? Than just starting from every store sizes differently. I always like to go to the fat lady stores because when they say it's a 1X, if I were in a real store, they would say, oh, honey, we can't fit you. That's at least a 2X or a 24 or something like that. And so I like to do that. But if I knew that, oh, my goodness, I could go to Neiman Marcus if I wanted to and buy this size, wouldn't that be nice to know? Not to mention, what would it save me? And what is time? Money. That's exactly right. So that's where we're going. That's why we look at these cases so that you can ferret out this information that is important. Because with the opportunity and not just the idea, what happens? Is there a difference? Is there something tangible you can say to us right now that makes a difference? Why are people in business? Why do you want to open up a business? Why are you in this classroom today? Because you want to learn something about
Making money.
Yeah, making money.
Right.
So you need to know if it's going to make money. Now, social entrepreneurship is different because you still want to make money, but you have a cause or something. But in this particular case, if you don't know the facts, how will you determine what is the opportunity and what is not the opportunity, or what is just simply a fabulous idea? So, sorry,
No. So, okay, so we know basically how it works. We've all been to the airport. It seems like it solves a real problem, right? So it's going to save retailers a bunch of money if 25% of the stuff that they sell ends up coming back to them. And it's going to save customers the time of having to shop for clothes that don't fit and the convenience of, not getting measured from head to toe every time they do it, right? Now, how does this technology work?
Through biometrics.
Biometrics, okay.
So I said like somewhere, I think like 200, I don't know, like 200,000 data points.
200,000 data points. 200,000 data points. And it says it's accurate to 1/4 of an inch, right? So head to toe information on what kind of clothes are going to fit you. That seems pretty incredible. So at the start, it seems like, okay, we've got a technology here that potentially solves some real problems, right? Now, has something like this ever been tried before? Has a previous company tried to find a convenient way to measure people?
They sent out the kits with the measuring tape.
Right, exactly.
what were the odds on that? What happened with it?
Most of the people didn't send them back with orders,
Right.
Right, I think it was something like 4,000, and 40 came back, which is 1% correct.
Yeah. So not a good return rate, right? Most of the time, it's really tough to gauge when you're thinking about an opportunity what the customer interest is going to be down the road. In this case, you've got some idea, because if they sent out 4,000 kits and only 40 came back, that is 1% interest. That's like an actual number for how many people cared. What about, so you had one that tried to do it, have the customers themselves do the measurements. What was the other previous attempt at this?
Yes.
I was going to say it's fairly new. It's this app on your phone that you stand front of it and you do like a 360 spin, it does an entire measurement of your body.
Really?
Yeah.
When did this come out?
It was on Shark Tank, so recently, within the last 3 years.
Ooh,
No kidding.
well, okay. And did they pick it up?
Yeah, I believe we got a deal.
No kidding.
And now it's used for, I forget what product, but it's very big. You literally put the phone like on, like surface.
And then just stand around?
Yeah, and you do a 360 and it does literally exactly your measurements and everything.
And what was do you remember what their model was going to be? Was it retailers paying for it? Was it consumers just paid to download the app?
Yes.
So anyone could do it, yeah.
Might have been even free, and then they did like ads for like revenue and things like that. But I can't remember off the top of my head.
That's pretty awesome, though.
Yeah, it's cool.
So the idea obviously has been really good, right? I mean, if Shark Tank picked it up, they believe that that is going to be a winning product, service. So maybe we could use some of that to help us find out what either went right or went wrong here that made this go from an opportunity to an idea or an idea to an opportunity.
Yeah, let's come back to that at
Yeah.
the end. That's good.
I think the other thing they talked about in the case study was they tried to pilot a system where retailers took everybody's measurements and put them in a computer so they could
Right.
review them.
Exactly. And how many measurements were they taking? 38. Right. So they've tried this two different ways. They've tried having the customers do it, and they've tried having the retail stores do it. And neither time, what was the problem with the 38 measurements at the retail store?
They didn't have enough sales.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and what else do you think might have happened that wasn't in there? We talked about time earlier. Think about how many of you, guys especially, will have suits made. And you know how long it takes you? You have to plan a minimum of an hour for a suit. It's very annoying, that's right.
And that's
No
only
pain,
5
no gain.
measurements, right?
Yes.
That's neck, shoulder, inseam, outseam.
That's right, but think about for a woman. Can you imagine getting a woman to stand there who's not even accustomed to being measured for suits and stand there for, what, maybe 2 hours, an hour and a half? And that's if they get it written down correctly and blah, blah, blah. Time again.
It's invasive, really. Yeah.
It is. And so it didn't work. And here's another question that we have to ask in opportunity and idea is, you know what? Who is the customer? Who is the customer? If they're sending it to retailers, are they expecting retailers to be the customer? If they're giving it to customers who they say are the buyers of the product, are they the customer or are they? And the idea is you have to know your market. And I'm wondering if they knew it
That's a
clearly.
good question. So they had 3 potential markets outlined for this product, right? What were they?
Malls, retail chains,
Uh-huh.
specialty retailers.
There you go. And who are the specialty retailers?
Plus size retailers, small men's clothing.
Right. Now for each of these 3, who's actually going to pay for this thing? Did you notice? Is it the retail shops that pay for it? What's that? So retail shops for this one?
For the malls too.
For the malls too, it looks, I think for the
mall,
malls
they
it
were gonna
was,
have it.
the retailers would
Yeah.
pay a monthly fee.
Yeah.
Right? So for this one, you've got a fee for the retailers, right? Now for the retail chains like Gap and Levi's, who paid for that? Or how are they going to pay? That was a little different. So that was just a flat $50,000 fee, right?
Right.
They were just going to absorb it and they'd make the money in the profits probably, right? Was that?
And so here you can see, if it's in a mall, okay, you got a monthly fee, retailers are going to pay it. customers can use it because they, walking through the mall, they see it, they can jump in. If it's a retail chain, if it's Gap or Levi's, I guess they eat the cost. It sits in the store. And when potential customers come in for a pair of jeans, I guess that's when they get scanned, right?
They
Potentially.
sell more perhaps, because if you can go in there, get your scan done, then you have the information right. Now you save time by going directly to your size or within a closer range of your size. So,
And
and if I got scanned at the Gap or Levi's, guess what I would do? I may take that information and go wherever I want it to go, but who am I going to remember and thank because they provided me with that service? So every time I want to buy clothes for myself or my daughter, I can't wear anything in the Gap. But every time I want to do something to shop for jeans, I'm going to go and take my first shot with them for my daughter or whomever, because they helped me, right? They made my life easier, right?
Now, specialty shops, who pays here? What's the revenue model there? It doesn't say, right? So an individual bridal shop, I mean, you can see how that works, but are they going to drop 50 grand on it to save that much time? Maybe not. We don't know. Do the customers pay for that somehow?
How many of y'all
I'm
have
not
been to
sure.
David's Bridal? How many of you have ever watched the TV shows in New York, Kleinfeld's and Say Yes to the Dress? Yeah. They start at what, around, I know at David's Bridal you can buy a dress on sale. That once a year that you can buy a sale, they'll have a big sale for $100 a dress. It's like compared to the minimum of the average price of a wedding gown today. So guys, if you're thinking about proposing, get your pocketbooks ready too. The average price for a wedding gown is $2,000 today. Now that means then what? For you accountants and econs, you know, they go way up to around $10,000, and maybe you can find something on the sale rack for about $1,000. So you figure it out. You can do the averages. So, but the average is around $2,000, $2,500. So when you're thinking in terms of that, you think they're making enough money? I imagine they are. And if they're making enough money, then what does that mean? They can absorb the cost. Because if you can go one-stop shopping and get everything you need right off the bat, and what if you guys now, you know what's happening? Your soon brides-to-be, they want you to go with them. Do you want to sit in a bridal salon for hours and hours with not even a cocktail? Maybe not. So, with that in mind, they're going to absorb the cost. That would be my guess. And I know with plus lady sizes, because I am a plus lady, guess what I do know with beyond a shadow of a doubt? I don't want some lady, can I help you? Opening the door while I'm just in my I don't want that. I just want to go out there, find what I want, and if I have to tell them a larger size, I'll have to tell them to go get me a larger size, but I don't want them in the dressing room with me. So guess what? It is to their best interest to then fund the system. They'll make it back, oh gosh, hand over fist. Because you buy more, because now you're buying what you need, you're buying it the right size, the right time, and you're saving money doing it. And they're making money because guess what? There are no returns. That's a horrible, anyone ever worked in retail? Returns kill you, right? You hate them. You even hate the customer who brings it back in many cases because of their attitude, because I got it home. Wouldn't it be nice if you could reduce your returns by 50% or more? That's profits to the company. So they're happy. Guess what else happens? Who's the number one person or group you should always make happy? Employees, right? Why? Who's the close? Do you think Elon Musk is sitting there having personal conversations with their customers? Do you think Dell, do you think he's sitting around having personal conversations? Heavens no. Who is? That person selling you at Best Buy that Dell computer, right? or at Google or any place else. You're not talking to the big boys, so that reduces their influence is reduced down to point of contact, and that point of contact is your employee to customer. So that's why we say the number one is the employee. If you have a happy employee, you have a happy customer, you have a happy boss, and in this case, the idea really resonates with me as a great opportunity because it has potential growth for the customer and for the company in profits. I'm sorry.
I apologize.
I just get on my little rants, you know.
So we've got a good idea here, right? And it potentially solves a problem for retailers and consumers. We know it works. We know they have a test pilot, right? They deployed in a few specialty stores, a few malls in Pennsylvania, and they've got some mixed results from the experience. So what do people say once they actually start using it? Once it goes in the malls, once people see it in the stores.
Well, this one girl said that it was a size too small.
Yeah.
Um,
So they get 200,000 data points, and it's not even right.
I mean, yeah, but it could also be one of those things. I mean, some people don't really know their size. And then even
Could
when
be.
Maybe she did try on the right size, but she,
Maybe she just didn't like the results.
Yeah.
Maybe. Could be. Yeah, could be. Yeah.
Well, I know differently, she said before, different retailers fit differently.
Right.
So,
So-
unless you have that machine adjusted according to that retail store, it's gonna make your measurements, but
Right.
clothes that are made and stitched, it's gonna be different size.
Yeah.
Right. That's a very
So-
good point. Both good points.
And what was the other feedback they got?
Not all the stores are participating.
Yeah. Right. So this whole thing only works. We've got a two-sided model here. You need people willing to get scanned, and once they get scanned, they need stores who are participating in this, so that they can take their size sheet to them and make sure they get the right stuff. So if we're voting on it right now, if you're thinking about this, what's your initial scale of 1 to 10? 1, incredibly weak opportunity. 10, great opportunity. It's a go.
No, I'm not Vanna White. But all of you have this, right? You filled it out. Everything's copacetic there. Fold it in half for me, please. Proceed. I just wanted to get them ready for you.
Okay. So just write initial thoughts, right? Write that number 1 to 10. What is this?
The
1,
closer to, yeah,
1, it's a weak opportunity.
or an
10,
idea. Yeah.
weak idea.
1 to 10.
10
10 being fantastic opportunity, let's rock and roll. 1 being, well, it's a wonderful idea, but I don't know about the rest. And just write it on either side, but on one side.
Now right over here.
Yeah. Okay, 10 being the best, fantastic opportunity. 1 being, it's a good idea, but, not going to work maybe as an opportunity. And then, if you will, just hold it up, and we're going to write it on the board so we know what we have. Just hold it up so we can see. I'll call them out to you. How about that? Do you want to write 1 through
Write 'em
10 on the
all.
board?
We
And
got 4.
okay, I'll
You
do
gonna
the same.
count
10, and then we'll just do stick figures maybe. Okay, we have a 10, and just put stick figure by 10 maybe.
So we've only got 110.
Well, I'm just reading them off, and then you can write like a stick
Yeah,
figure by
yeah.
the 10 maybe. 10, 7,
One at a time.
oh, okay, 6, 3, 7, 5, 6, 4, 5, 10. Oh, 7, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. 6, 7, and then front row, you're the last. 7, 4, 4.
7, 4, 4. So who thought it was a 10? Okay. Let's talk about strengths and weaknesses. Why did you think this was such a strong opportunity?
I feel like if they did it at a retail fee and included a lot of shops at their stores, and when you take the measurements and have the specific store size given to those people about the jeans, okay, so American Eagle would be 2 size or Gap would be 4 size.
Right.
A lot of people would participate, and it will be a really small fee because a lot of shops are joining that.
Okay, so I'm hearing two things. I hear it's got a lot of potential if everybody participates.
Like the 50,000 fee would be really good for specialty stores where it requires a person to take all
Maybe
the
so.
measurements, and also the clothes are so expensive that if you keep trying them on, you'll end up putting them on sale because they're worn so many times. So specialty stores would likely to pay that much money,
Okay,
but like American Eagle or those stores are not gonna give that much money. Maybe they'll just
So-
participate for a small fee.
so it's low cost relative to the potential number of people that would use it, right? That makes sense, that's good. What about, who are the people that had 7s?
I don't know. I think it has potential. Like, I think it could work, but it'd have to be done right. Like, there's so many ways that it could go wrong, but it's a solid start. I don't know, like,
Okay,
I think it'd have to become custom to every store. Like, I
okay,
think they'd have to allow every retailer that uses it to find the way that makes it work for them.
Good point. Excellent.
okay, definitely. What else? The other people that had 7s, what strengths did you see? Yeah,
I also thought it was one of those things where, I mean, it's very pricey, so I think it's mostly just fitting to like malls. I mean, for every like Men's Warehouse or any of those specialty retailers to have it might be a little too costly. But if you had like one in a mall, it could cater for multiple stores. But I also think it's one of those things where it's like exciting. So you kind of like hear the news about this. You know, your local mall is getting this.
okay,
So I think it might attract a lot of people.
it's got a broad reach.
So you like the mall idea, having it at the mall level then? Is that right? Okay.
I just think, I mean,
Because it's
$50,000
everyone in the
lot.
whole mall.
Yeah. Opposed to, I mean,
I have a question for you.
yeah,
Do you shop a lot?
not really.
Okay, how about can I ask everyone then?
Sure.
Okay, so I'm asking all of you, who shops a lot? Okay, so question, in your malls here in Tampa, and are all of you from the Florida area or all over? Okay, from your malls that you have where you frequent often, do they have like a ice skating rink in the center or a food court in the center of the mall? Something that would be a good place to put this where everyone congregates? Is that typical in malls today? Does anyone know?
Yeah, I don't think that would be applicable because you said you put it in the center area where most people that go in there, they don't have a typical, what they consider a perfect body size, so.
Yes, but you don't have to take your clothes off. Remember, that was one of the advantages of this new one. You didn't have to take
Yeah.
anything off.
But then that's just you standing there while everybody else is watching.
Okay, that's a point.
It's a little awkward.
That's a
Yeah,
point.
it's a
So
little.
maybe put a curtain around it.
Yeah, but.
Would that then appeal to you?
No, because then, like,
Okay.
what's behind the curtain? So it's like one of those things where if you put it in one of those locations, it's, like you said, in the center, it's like an observation. It's like, what's going on behind there? So you tell to that retailer.
So what number were you? What number? 3?
So you see that as a weakness, all right.
So you would
it's,
see that as a weakness than to have it in a mall. You'd rather be in a store?
Well,
Or-
when you say malls, most people don't shop in malls nowadays anyway. They do e-commerce. Everybody shops online, so they're going away from brick and mortar.
Brick and mortar is deteriorating in demand. Yes, so that may even be something else, which would go back to this gentleman who has his hand up, because he had read about the new phone app. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think this is like a type of device that you put in a mall and no one ever uses it. If you put it in a food court, it's just gonna stay there there by itself, and for like high-end clientele, they want comfort in the exact like size. They're gonna go to their tailor every single time. They're not gonna go to this.
Okay,
thing
so that's a
off.
definite
And
disadvantage.
also time, what it is you're gonna go into the store, you're gonna line up to get your measurement when you could just start trying on clothes in other stores. It's just,
Ah,
I don't think it works. at
but
all.
now with this new plan, you could just do it in the privacy of your own home. If you
Your own
want to go
home.
to a brick and mortar, you're ready to go, and you've got your ammunition for what you want. That's a good point, yeah.
Okay, so weaknesses.
So definitely a disadvantage or a weakness.
A lot of
weakness-
weaknesses.
What's that? A lot of weaknesses. What was it you said about?
The comfort, you have your own tailor, you've known him for 20 plus years, you're
Okay.
you're gonna continue to go to him.
Yeah,
Go to
maybe
Brooks
so.
Brothers or something of that, they want it done to the exact T.
Now, why do you think if they stick it in the entranceway to a mall, in between 50 shops,
Be the worst.
worst place?
Yeah, worst
How
place to
come?
possibly do it, because there's too many things going on at one time, there's not enough attention on this one object, because there's so many things surrounding it.
Okay. So on top of the malls being a problem where nobody goes to the mall anymore, you've got a separate one where even if it's in the mall, it just
It's
there's
not
no
gonna be
good
used,
placement.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Customers won't use it.
Okay.
it's like, almost like the foot measurement thing now, or the like, Dr. Scholl's, how many people like stand on that thing when it's supposed to be a whole revolutionary product, so.
Does that mean I'm old and this is why I just raised my hand when you asked that? Oh, no. How many, have any of y'all ever done that? Oh. Stand on the thing that's back by the pharmacy and like Walmart and Walgreens, everywhere, and they have it. And you stand on there and it tells you what kind of cushion soles, what kind of feet you need. So like I need arches, I'm flat-footed. See, I also have, y'all look at my ingenious shoes. Can y'all see them? They're called Z-coils, and they have coils on them so that because it's hard, the more weight you carry, the more, anyway.
So and maybe that's a targeting thing. So the Dr. Scholl's thing, clearly for some people, it
Yeah,
works.
it's a different generation, and what are we looking for at customers? You have to know what your market group is, your target market, and usually that's 22 to 55 or something like that. Was that marketing people? 22 to 55? Is that about right? Target market?
So is there a market for this that they didn't think of? So they thought malls, they thought big retail shops, specialty stores, where fitting's incredibly important. All that makes sense. Did anything come to mind reading through where you thought, it actually,
Tailoring shops,
so men's tailoring?
any tailor shop, like I know in India, when we give our clothes for fitting, because we have a lot of different types of clothing, and the tailor would be really super busy, and they charge a lot of money also. So maybe those
Definitely.
people.
I was thinking they sort of captured tailors under specialty. I
But
think.
she's
yeah.
right, in India, I mean, there are tailors everywhere. Same in China and in the Middle East, tailors everywhere. So that would expedite they could, what if they sent someone to the tailor, like if you're the tailor, what if you say, okay, you have to go and have this, and that would expedite the length of time it takes to measure a person.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Person not knowing about the measurements can do that too.
yeah.
Whoever it brings up or whatever,
Oh.
that person can just do that job, so tailor person would have less work to do.
Oh.
Oh, that's an awesome idea. Now that's pivoting, right? Would that be a pivot for the company?
Well, I guess if they had started, yeah, and they realized actually it's small tailors.
But
yeah,
then they
that could
would
be
look
great.
maybe to other countries perhaps that would be more in line with that, right? Because some ideas are fantastic, but they are not going to make for good opportunities in one region or one area, but doesn't mean they won't in another region or another country or
Because
something.
like
Yeah.
some of my dresses are, the tailoring is more expensive than the dresses itself.
Than the
And
fabric,
when we
yeah.
get it.
Really.
Yeah.
Um,
So what else?
Because
the
it
people
has
who
to
had
fit you perfectly.
the people who had 3s and 4s. What were the other weaknesses you saw? Yeah.
It's honestly not very sustainable. Doesn't have
How
a very
come?
good sales plan. If you
Okay.
can try to sell it to somebody, how are you gonna tell them, their ROI? Where is it gonna be valuable to them? Because you really can't calculate how you're gonna make back that 50,000 from that, because really it's not essentially making any money. It's essentially gonna save you money, but I don't know, how do you really show somebody that? And then it's also a one-time buy, and then what, you have to service it, and that's, other money you can bring in, but once you sell it to them, that's 50,000 you get one time and never again from them.
So you don't see, what about the possibility of repeat customers and lower returns as a way to make money?
What do you mean, like selling it to multiple?
So instead of having, if 25% of the stuff that you sell ends up coming back to you, so you're making 25% less than you think you are. If this thing cuts that number down to say 5-10%, people are keeping more of the stuff that they buy. So making some money. It doesn't make money directly, but there's no, difficult to calculate an ROI, right? What is this thing? When's your return on investment going to be for this? I don't know. Yeah.
I think to the point about did they miss a market, I don't know if they missed a market. It's hard for me to put my finger on it. But it goes back to the point about everybody buying their clothes online these days. And so there's something around licensing the technology for all retailers to use to capture. It just seems too manual. Like the whole idea that you go in, you print out your size, you go walk it to a store. Like why can't you download the results and send them to anybody? Put them online for online Amazon or whoever you're buying your clothes from online.
So they have it on record.
And then so you could have customers pay for it initially, and then have the retailers pay a license.
Yeah, that's an idea.
I like that.
So what if, so they get scanned, instead of getting a little piece of paper, it just tells the Gap, hey, Mark's a size 4, and it tells David's Bridal Shop, hey, da-da-da-da-da, right? Yeah, that's an idea.
That's good.
Just to go back to what he said with the ROI and stuff, I also worked in retail when I was younger, and I understand that real estate is valuable. So depending on how big the store is and where they have to place the merchandise, you put this big machine, that's gonna take up a lot of space in the store itself.
Yeah.
So you're not gonna be able to sell your product as much because you have this machine taking up all the space. Not to mention, like he said, the ROI and the mechanics of repairing it, if there's a malfunction or whatever, you have to have a specialist come in there.
Yeah. Maintenance, so
point.
just the amount of space. You've seen them in the airport. If you stick that in a mall store, that's a quarter of the shop, really, right? And that's
For an
all.
average size,
That's all space you can't use to sell stuff. That's good. And then the maintenance, who pays that when the thing breaks down? That can't be cheap. So we've only got 5 minutes left. When we're talking about strengths and weaknesses here, has anybody changed their mind? Any 7s who think it's a 10? Any 7s who think it's a 3? Moving back and forth.
Okay, everyone take your piece of paper now and go to the other side. And now write down, again, 1 to 10. How confident are you now that this is an opportunity, which would be a 10? Or maybe you're more confident that this is just a brilliant idea, but needs massaging a great deal. So that would be a 1. And then write it on the other side of the paper. And it's just to see if by doing this, going through this process, if this has helped you to better assess or not. If you still are confident in the way you felt coming into this, then that's fine too. It's obviously you're not getting a grade on it. It's just so that we can see more for us, I think, are we effective? Are we helping you to assess the case and to use your critical thinking skills? Are we helping? All right, so if you all have your numbers on the other side, you want to just go like right to the side of it or something, or
For anybody,
4.
what if,
Just count. You want me to bring
I was
them
going to say,
in?
who switched? Did anybody change?
They switched.
What did
Oh,
you,
yeah.
you go from high to low or low to high?
I went up a little bit.
You went up? Okay. What did you go from?
I went from 6 to 7.
6 to 7? And what about you all?
I went down.
You went down?
Yeah.
You went from what to what?
From a 7 to a 4.
7 to 4?
From 4 to 2.
4 to 2? Okay. 4 to 2? All right. So you flesh that a
What
little
did you
bit, it
do?
gets weaker. The
Went
outcome of
down?
this
Okay.
case is a little, it's a little tricky. So this was, this was the number one technology named 2004. That's when it went into use. We know that the company was acquired in 2009 by another company called Unique Solutions, which did something really similar. At the time they were acquired, they had, so we're talking 5 years later, they'd had around 500,000 people use it. So how does that sound as a number? It's been out there for 5 years, malls, specialty stores. They've had 500,000 people. 100,000 people a year. It seems low for potential, right? Yeah. And so we don't know, it was a private deal. We don't know if, they sold the company and made a huge profit, got rich, or, sometimes you sell the business for, what you owe your investors, basically. And everybody just kind of gets out of it alive, and that's it. And so on that, we don't know. And just looking at it online, I can't find a mention of it online after 2012, which is maybe when malls really started to tank. I mean, it was kind of a slow decline before then. So, yeah. But as you mentioned, it still seems like a real problem. It still seems like if you can figure out a way to get rid of these weaknesses, you could make some money on it. So in that sense, it's not that surprising that you'd see it show up on Shark Tank, where you can just do it at home. It's not awkward. It's not in public. It doesn't cost $50,000. Yeah. All right, so we're going to end 1 minute early. Thank you guys for being here. I know it's not easy to do on a Saturday morning, but it's really important for us. So thanks.
We enjoyed everything. Thank you.